A lot of times growing up, your surrounding plays a huge factor in who you are as an adult. And this was no different for Rel and I. It's just we didn't realize things until they were too late.
This backshore thing is deeper than a lot of people realize. Like, I started my life out in Queens, New York, and then I moved out to Long Island, New York. And what I realized is Long Island has a darker side to it that nobody wants to talk about. It's like the forgotten place, right? Where you got poverty. You got people that's really living bad. I know people really struggling. You got crime. You got liquor stores on every corner. Unhealthy food spots on every block. Just a whole area set up for people to fail. And then what's insane about it is you could drive less than 5 minutes and end up in an area where you see mansions, you see better school districts, you see just straight safety. Like, people living so comfortably, living that dream life. And then, like I said, 5 minutes away, people living a nightmare life. And so I sat back and thought, like, okay, what's the difference between these two areas? And it's just a difference in education. It's a lack of resources, it's a lack of information. So me, through different means of my life, I was able to obtain information. Like, I went hard to get this information. It wasn't easy, it wasn't given to me. But now that I have it, I would be selfish if I didn't go back to these areas and make sure that I'm giving it to people that didn't have access to it. Make sure I'm giving it to the underprivileged. And so for me, this backdoor thing, there's a lot of potential in it, and I'm just trying to see where it could go.
So when Rel and I decided to make the video about our childhood and growing up in Long Island, it made perfect sense to go back to our high school where everything started.
So when you're in high school between the ages of 14 to 17, you have no idea what's going on. And I was no different, because I was just walking through the hallway living my best life until I realized that people were making racist jokes and calling me a terrorist. And I was cool with it because I thought they were my peers, until one day I literally got into a fight with someone because it just didn't sit right with me. But that was a student. Imagine a teacher who's a grown man saying something about you like, do you eat curry at home? Why are you asking me that, sir? But then I realized something like, yo, he's gonna get away with it because he has money and he has connections. But here's another thing. I would walk down the hallway and people would say, you're good looking for being a brown person. I would be on a sports team and people would say, you're good for being a brown person. It was just never you're good in general, because that's not a thing apparently. And that's another time where I realized at the end of the day, as long as you have money and connections, you run the school, you run the district. And that's when I promised myself that no matter at what cost my family was ever gonna suffer, they were gonna have money and they were gonna have connections. And I was hoping things would get better. But just a few years ago, you see stuff like this happening, where essentially you see people putting graffiti at the Gurdwara, which is literally a place where people who are sick go to pray. And that just showed me nothing had actually changed, but things had just gotten worse.
Growing up around here was like a history lesson on the power of real estate. Long Island is one of the most segregated areas in America. Nassau County was ranked the #1 most segregated county in 2010. And due to housing discrimination in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, we now have an island where half of the black population lives in just 11 out of 291 communities, and 90% live in only 62 of them. Around the civil rights movement, areas like the one I grew up in experienced panic sell-offs by white families once a black family moved in. So areas like mine went from predominantly white to predominantly black in just 10 years. It's been that way ever since. My block was a little better, but it gave me perspective having certain lifestyles in my backyard. Crime is prevalent, and the wealth gap created by real estate was never solved. Long Island racism is still so strong, and it was felt by this protest we went to in 2020.
Nigga, am I tripping? Let me know. I thought
Your family just like us. You won't see us again, believe us. You won't see us again.
I got you.
You won't see us again.
I got you.
Every town, every neighborhood.
Guess what?
What up?
Guess what? I got
We
you.
hear one of our stories, this our hood. Don't be on the outside.
Predominantly black communities, y'all don't do this in America. Y'all don't do this shit in Walmart.
Bullshit.
Y'all don't do this in the Master People. Y'all don't do this shit in South Amityville. Y'all choose where y'all want to go to the bullshit.
Take a knee, we open up the highway. Take a knee, we open up the highway.
I wonder, will it all ever change? Prepping for another big one, another big interview.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yo, talk to me, Shanine.
Hey, what's going on? Gang. It's like, nah.
You already know.
Hey, we here, man.
We here, my boy Rel here too. You already know. This is gonna be a good one. Great one.
What's good, guys? Hopefully you guys enjoyed this type of video. So we had a dope day today where we interviewed our first female entrepreneur on the show. Shout out to Shanine.
Yo.
She killed it, yo.
Straight gems, bro. On gems.
That's a fact. But obviously we had a dope interview with her. We got some food. We drove back, had a strategy session like always, which was fire. But honestly, it's been a very long week and we're ready to wrap this up. But what you think about the video?
Bro, I'm just happy they got to get an inside look at how we came up, because ultimately it impacted us financially, right? It made us think about finances different. This whole Long Island dynamic, from housing discrimination, how important real estate is just to your actual future. Look what it set up. We just showed you a visual representation. So now y'all know.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But if you like this type of content and you're still watching, we appreciate you. Thank you. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Plus, hit that little notification bell because we drop
2 videos a week.
and you don't want to miss them. Check out our episode next week. But until then, peace.
Peace.